How's it going, guys, and welcome back. In this video, we're going to be checking out how we can evolve Eevee into Umbreon and Espeon in Pokemon Legends CA. Of course, for this, we will first need to catch at least one or two Eevees. So the earliest way to do this is simply go to the Jaune Pokemon Center over here on the east side of the map, and then walk slightly north until we come across this scaffolding. Start climbing up this scaffold until we get to the roof. A quick side note, if you have advanced very far into the story, you can actually catch Eevees in the Wild Zone number 19. However, that doesn't unlock until very close to the end of the game, so if you are still near the beginning or the middle of your playthrough, you're much better off going for the one we're showing you right here. Anyway, once we get to the roof, you want to walk all the way to the end until you get to these vines. You can cut down these vines or burn them down, whichever you prefer. And then when you climb up to this small roof above is where you're going to find Eevee. If he isn't up here, like in the case we're seeing in the gameplay here, don't panic. Sometimes he drops down to the roof we just came up from. It is important to note that Eevee only seems to spawn during the daytime and on sunny weather. So once you've caught yourself an Eevee, if you do want to catch yourself a second one to get both Umbreon and Espeon, all you need to do is wait on the roof nearby for 5 or 6 minutes without being in any menus like no map, no pause, and another Eevee should spawn. So now that you have yourself a couple of Eevees, it's time to find out how we can evolve them into Umbreon and Espeon. It is essentially the same as the rest of the games in this franchise, which means we need to evolve them by increasing their friendship. However, the question is, in this game, how do we increase their friendship fast? Well, the fastest method is actually very easy. All we need to do is go to any cafe. I personally go to the one down here near the first Wild Zone. And while making sure that you have your correct Eevee selected, you don't actually need to bring them out, but it's just important to make sure you have the correct Eevee selected. And then simply sit down at the cafe and choose the first option on the coffee list. It doesn't really matter which one you choose. I just always choose the first coffee. Then you'll get a short scene where you're sitting down with your Eevee. Once you're here, you can straight away back out from the cafe and then pay another 500 and simply sit down again. Once you've done this 4 times in a row, which is very quickly, it takes less than a minute, you should see in the menu that Eevee has the arrow, meaning he can evolve. Though before we rush in to evolving our Eevee, we want to make sure of 2 things first. The first one is we want to make sure that Eevee doesn't know any fairy type moves. So chances are most Eevees do start with some fairy type moves in this game. So make sure you go into the change moves menu and remove any fairy type moves that it knows. The reason for this is that it will evolve into Sylveon 100% of the times if it does know any fairy type moves. So now that we're sure that it doesn't know any fairy type moves, the only thing that's left to decide is if we want Umbreon or Espeon. As always, for Espeon, we simply need to evolve it during the daytime, and if we want an Umbreon, all we need to do is evolve it during the nighttime. The way to change from day to night in this game, other than simply waiting, is what you can do is you can go to pretty much any bench in the world map, sit down, and then you can pass the time. So if you wait until nighttime here, as you can see, do the exact same thing, make sure that the Eevee doesn't have any fairy type moves, and evolve it, and it'll turn into an Umbreon. So that is it, guys. That is how you can get Espeon and Umbreon, and Sylveon for that matter, in Pokemon Legends CA. I hope you did find this very helpful. If you did, don't forget that thumbs up button, subscribe for more content coming very soon, and we'll see you next time.